Across the country, admission for highly selective academic high schools, often called exam schools, has moved from objective test-based student evaluation to a more subjective process. Some call this discriminatory. Others say it will increase diversity and equity. Well, joining us is Parents Defending Education's Director of Outreach, Erika Sanzi. Erika, good morning. Great to see you.
Good morning.
So we've heard about these schools across the country, Boston, San Francisco, Virginia, where these highly selective academic schools are getting a lot of criticism. They're facing court battles after changing the admissions process here. Explain to us first, what is an objective test-based student evaluation and what is the subjective process and how does this affect admission in general?
So for a long time, exam schools have relied solely on an admissions test to determine who could attend. And they would have a math part to the test, and then there would also be a more English-oriented part to the test. And that was it. They would take the top kids based on that test result to determine who would be admitted to these schools. And in recent years, there's been a big push to change this admission policy from a test, right? So, I mean, it is objective in the sense that everyone takes the same test, to what they describe as a more holistic process in an effort to increase diversity. And when they say diversity, they're really talking about racial diversity. And there is evidence that relying solely on the test does mean that there are certain groups that are less likely to get in because they don't perform as well on the test.
Some are calling this the war on merit. How is this moving beyond college and elite public high school acceptance to include eliminating honors and advanced placement courses in some schools?
Yeah, so that's definitely part of the same trend. So again, we have concerns about performance based on groups, and usually what they're mostly looking at are racial groups and also sometimes related to socioeconomic grouping, right? So when they see Asian students, getting in at much higher levels to the exam schools, or they see them performing much better on in schools, or they see them taking up a much larger share of the honors and AP classes, some people see that as a reason to change the way that they select for those classes, or unfortunately what we're seeing in a lot of places is to just do away with the accelerated classes and the higher level classes. So instead of working hard to make sure that more students are more prepared and able to do the work in these classes, instead they sort of say, there's no way we're ever going to make this as diverse as we want it, so let's just scrap the whole thing, which is a shift kind of, and that is a big shift away from academic excellence and from accelerated programming that some students really do need.
And, the court has really given K through 12 districts less leeway to consider race in admissions to special programs or schools. And in fact, a precedent was set when a decision was made back in 2007 against the Seattle Public Schools and the Jefferson County Public Schools in Kentucky. In those cases, the court said school districts could not explicitly use race in their efforts to create more diverse schools. So then what do you say to those districts who say they're just seeking to increase educational opportunities for historically underrepresented minorities?
Well, this is a tricky topic because the reality is there is a problem here. We do not have enough students coming out of, particularly Black and Hispanic students, coming out of certain middle schools. There aren't enough of them that are prepared to do the rigorous work of these high schools. And I think we do need to be honest about the fact that that is a problem. But the solution to that problem is not lowering standards or changing admission requirements in some sort of almost social engineering experiment, because that really doesn't solve the problem. That just changes the character of a school where you're expected to be able to do really, really rigorous work. And by shifting to a different admissions program, you're going to have now fewer kids who can do that work, which is going to change the character of the school academically. So again, this is a scarcity problem. Number one, we should have way more excellent schools that people are clamoring to get into. And number two, we should be looking at what is happening in K through 8 that is leading to such lack of preparation for some students. So even though their report card has all A's, they are simply not equipped to do the high-level, accelerated, rigorous coursework required at some of these institutions.
All right. Well, Parents Defending Education Director of Outreach, Erika Sanzi, great talking to you this morning. Several court cases that I know you guys will be following throughout the year. Thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Jan.